I am so excited to be joined on Woke AF Daily with Cori Bush, who is running for Missouri's first congressional district. Cori, your story to me is so incredible because, you know, I have often been concerned that activists will become disillusioned by the system and decide that they don't want to enter into politics because they're like, throw their hands up, the system is just terrible,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be bothered. You did the opposite after being what feels like what sounds like and feels like after reading and following your work, being compelled
Yes.
into action. So can you talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, so before Michael Brown was murdered, I was doing other types of activism that I didn't really understand was activism. I was working with the unhoused population, working in human trafficking. I was pastoring, and I was working as a nurse and doing some other volunteering. But when Michael Brown was murdered, I saw something I never thought I'd see in my own community. I grew up watching like Eyes on the Prize and stuff like that, just like learning what happened during the Black Power movement, Civil Rights
Mm-hmm.
movement, what didn't happen, in other movements, and but I didn't think it could happen in my day. Like, we're supposed to be free now. We can sit at the front of the bus,
Right?
that type of thing.
That's what they told us.
That's what they said, and so but what I saw was my own neighborhood. I saw, what I had seen on civil rights footage in my neighborhood, and in 2014, and I saw regular everyday folks step up and put their lives and livelihoods hood on the line. I'm talking about regular people. One young lady was hung upside down and hog-tied, hanging off of a baton because she said no to a police officer who was trying to throw away her stuff. I saw people beaten unconscious, and dogs let loose on people, and so much just happened. We were shot with so many rubber bullets, and real bullets were flying, and the tear gas, and just so much, so many horrible things. I couldn't. There is in no way that
Mm-hmm.
I can sit back. Me personally, I can't speak for other people, but me personally, when I saw that our leaders, the people that are paid to represent us, when I saw that they weren't showing up for us, but regular folks was out here we were getting our butts kicked. So somebody asked me, and this person has been murdered since, an activist, out of North Carolina, asked me to run for office, and I said no. But when I thought about how many times we got our butts kicked, it was like, this is the only way to do it. And because the thing is, there was at one point like 156 or so pieces of legislation around the country that were brought forward, having to do with criminal justice reform around 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But Missouri was kind of like far behind. Like, we weren't, it wasn't happening the same for us. And I'm like, this is the problem. It's because we don't have people that are standing up for us in places of power. And so, even though a lot of activists were like, "Oh no, no, I'm not going to support that," I was in this in between space,
Right, right, right.
but I had to keep moving forward. And now what we've seen is, even though, people didn't understand it at the time, now people are catching on, and they're like, oh, actually this is a good thing. Like, we do need to be in these places where, and start taking these pens and writing our own bills. And I don't mind going first and catching the darts, as long as our people get what we need.
It's so interesting because I am always of the vein that you need to do both and, right? People
Yes,
need to be in the streets and people
yes.
need to be in the halls of power. Like, you need both and, because you
Thank
need
you.
people that are able to maneuver on the inside, strategize,
Yes,
and do what is right for the people and actually be the voice, right, that you're
yes,
supposed to be. You know, one of the things, too, I find is that there is an insurgence that is happening, right? You ran in 2018, you ran in 2016, you ran in 2018, and you're running again. And in 2018, what we witnessed was a blue wave, as everybody called it, this tidal wave. More people of color, more women
Right.
ran and won seats in the House of Representatives. And you were documented,
Yes.
right, during that time in the documentary Knocking Down the House.
Yes.
Talk to me about that experience in 2018 and running, because again, you didn't win, but I feel like you did, because you came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
right? You are a registered nurse. You know, my mother is a retired registered nurse. You're a
Oh.
registered nurse. You're activated
Yes.
by aggression that you saw against Black people in
Yes.
Ferguson following the killing of Mike Brown. You know,
Yes.
talk to me about that moment, that time, and what it inspired you to do, how it activated you even further.
Yeah, so this particular race, I was also asked to run for this seat, and the first thing that I said was, you know, no, why would I want to do this? Because I would be a Black woman running against a Black man, and I would spend so much time talking about why I need to do this, that people won't hear the message. So but when I realized how often we didn't see our congressperson out there, the person that
Mm.
could have stopped some of this from happening in Ferguson, because that's the area that's represented, and just seeing that he didn't do that, I had to go ahead and step up. But the thing is, I spent so much time though talking about my so I fought this thing of my hair. Oh, your hair
Ah,
is unprofessional. So people wanted to talk about my hair. They wanted to talk about my hips. Your hips are too big. You won't. You don't need to be in Congress. Your hips are too big. Like there was this whole like story. It's like there are articles about my hips. Like it was really crazy. So people didn't want to talk to me as much about my policy. They wanted to talk to me about
about
my
how you
appearance.
looked.
Yes, it was about my appearance, and it was also, you don't have any money, so where are you going to get the money from? And what I had to help people to understand is, no matter what, Black women raise the least of anybody on the planet when we run for Congress, the
Mm-hmm.
least. And not that we aren't deserving of raising more, not that we aren't as intelligent or more, not that we don't try as hard. We try 3 times as hard. It's just that people see us as the voter, as the voting block, but they don't see
Mm-hmm.
us as the leaders.
Yeah, they
That's
don't invest. They don't,
mhm.
they don't, they don't invest. And frankly, you would think that the ones that show up the most, right? Black women, the ones that are the backbone, the ones that show up the most would be the ones that you would want to take the reins of power.
Right, right. Because you're asking them for their opinion and their decision when they're voting. So you're asking for this leadership. What does this leadership look like? The leadership says, we're going to all vote and support this person, and we're going to bring out the numbers. We're going to do whatever we can to turn out this vote. Well, then why isn't that good enough to be the one who uses the pen to vote in Congress,
Right.
or to vote in a state house?
So, Cori, you are one of many progressives, right,
Mhm.
who have decided to take on establishment candidates, right?
Yes,
Um, William Lacy Clay is legacy, right?
yes,
A family legacy of activism, being a part of the Congressional Black Caucus. His father had the seat. He has the seat now. 10-year incumbent.
yeah.
What gives you the drive and the focus and the energy to believe that you can surmount that kind of legacy? Because it's been done, so we know that it can happen, right?
Yes.
And we know frankly, in a lot of places it needs to happen. So what do you
Yeah.
say to the haters, I guess, is the real question, who are like, why are you going to take down a Democrat? Like you're saying, like, why are you going to take down
Right.
one of our Congressional Black Caucus leaders, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. And my thing is, we have to watch who we call leaders. Some people have a leader because they simply have a title, and some people are a leader just because it's who they are. Right now, we're in a time of needing leaders that, because that's who they are. They are servant leaders. They are people who do the work regardless of if they're getting paid. They show up because they're called on, or they're already there because they were doing the work. That's what we need. And there was a day when what we have right now was okay, and I'm not going to come against that. I won't come against our elders and our ancestors in that way. But what I will say is that this is a new time, and then they have to pay attention to that. So we've seen it, like you said, we've seen it with Alex, with AOC. We've
AOC.
seen it with Jamal Bowman.
Yep.
We've seen it with Mondale Jones. We've seen it with and I think Mondare's is a little different, but we've seen how people like me are able to just come in and win these seats. But we win the seats by having the support, like people like you that give us they open up a platform for us to be able to get our messages out. So thank you to you for being one of those people that opens up the doors for us, because see, we have to come in a different way, because they won't open up other doors for us. So we have to come in and do this thing in a just with regular folks that just believe in our message. And two, I won't stop this, because I know what it's like to live on the street, to be unhoused. I had two babies, two armed babies, and I was living out of a car, moving the car around St. Louis, hoping the police wouldn't stop us and take my children, mixing formula in the McDonald's bathroom. I know what it's like to work low wage, and making $5.35 an hour, making $7 an hour, and can't afford, working for a daycare for almost 10 years and couldn't afford to send my own children there, not having health insurance. I'm a survivor of sexual assault, and the person was able to get off completely, just straight off. I'm a survivor of crime. I'm so many things, survivor of domestic assault. And so I've been through so much. I don't want my folks to go through anything that I went through if I can help it any way. So I don't care if they say that this is too hard. This is you won't be able to make this happen. If I don't try and give it all that I can give, people die. While they're playing a game, this ain't like what we say when we chant, this ain't no game, this ain't no joke. Because when we joke with this thing, lives, like people die.
It's your story is so remarkable, and I think that the issue with these longtime members, and there are some, I believe in institutional knowledge. I got into politics through the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. I was a fellow many moons ago. I worked on the Hill for Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, and who represents parts of Brooklyn. And I believe in the process, but I also believe that when people are just holding a seat, when they're just keeping the seat warm, when they're just assuming that their constituents are going to keep bringing them back because there is no one else there,
right.
That they lose the hunger. They lose the fight. And what I see in you, and what I see in the generation of progressives that are coming up and saying, you know what? Like, we have the fight. Because y'all been in Congress 10, 20, 30 years, and ain't a lot changed in my community, in our lives, right?
Exactly.
And I think that that's important. One of the things that I loved in your Elle magazine op-ed, you said that you were compelled to action. And you said, when all of our so-called leaders desert us, we learn to lead ourselves. We learn that if we continue to vote the same people into office, they will simply continue to sign off on our destruction.
That's right. And we've seen it. I think about, so our incumbent has been in the seat for 20 years. He's a 10-term incumbent, like you said. And in 20 years, St. Louis isn't getting better. Why are we always fluctuating number one, number two for violent crime and for homicides? Why is there a certain part of St. Louis where it looks like a bomb hit? There are people, we have so many people living on the street, living unhoused. We have veterans that can't find a place to live. We have a high incidence of childhood asthma and all of this redlining we are still living through the effects of so much of that today. And I can go on and on, And these things aren't getting better. I got caught up in the payday loan cycle, but our congressperson would accept thousands of dollars from the payday loan industry. How does, like, it won't change unless we change it. So now that
Right.
we've seen that you won't do anything, we've seen it. We gave you an opportunity, and we've even called you out, and you didn't make change. So we gotta do this thing ourselves. But the thing is, in leading ourselves, we had to educate ourselves. We had to put ourselves out there and risk so much to do this. It took political courage for
Mm-hmm.
any of us to step out to do this. But when we don't lead ourselves, because this is the other thing, people who have been through some stuff can talk about some stuff.
Come
So
on.
I understand that, sometimes you don't have to go through stuff to be able to advocate. I get that. But then there are people who have been through some stuff that understand all the blocks, the roadblocks, and all the problems. And those people need to be at the table as well, or create a own that they'll give you a chair to.
Mm.
That's where we have to be right now. And that's not what we have. So it's time out. We're done.
Right.
We're not playing with these people anymore.
Because there's frankly, Cori, there's no time to waste, right?
No.
Like we as a country, as a nation, are in the midst of two very critical pandemics, right?
Yes.
That are
Yes.
costing Black lives
Yes.
in a myriad of ways. And if we don't take action now, it will only get worse. What do you say to people, though, who I'm assuming that you talk to every day, that you're out, you're campaigning, you're talking to the people who are disillusioned by government, who are just like, Cori, I like you, right? But I don't know about this whole voting and sending you to Congress because, like, what have they done for me lately? What is
Right.
your response to those young people, older people, right?
Yes.
That the system has failed.
Yes.
And the system has failed them purposefully because they want them to sit out, because they want them
Yes.
to feel like this is not for them. What do you
Yes.
say to those folks?
So one thing that I say is, remember that somebody is going to take the seat. It's not going to go vacant. Somebody is going to sit in that seat and make decisions, whether you help or whether you don't. And this is the thing: if you didn't have a real voice, they wouldn't take the time to tell you you don't have one. They
Come
wouldn't
on.
run. Why would they eat? Why would they push other candidates? Why do people run for these seats? Why are people paid for these seats? Why do people get other kind of money just because they have these titles from lobbyists and all of that? It's because there's something to these seats. And just because we don't understand it, it's because it was set up that way for us not to be able to understand it, to kind of,
Mm-hmm.
as in a way, to kind of keep us in our place. But the secret is out. People like us, we're not keeping those secrets anymore. We're going to tell you how to run for office. We're going to show you, take you to trainings on how to be a black woman, running for office, or a black man running for office, or, or a brown person running for office in this area. We're going to talk to you about that. We're going to train you, because the more of us that go forward, the more of us, can change it. It may not happen in 2 years, but it may happen in 16. It may take some time, but we have to start switching these folks out, and sitting back saying that I don't trust the system
Mm-hmm.
gives the system more power.
Come on.
So if we collectively galvanize, that is why and I've said this to some of our elders, that is why politicians come for the black women. They come for that block, is because they know that there is power there. If they didn't need you, they wouldn't come to you. They wouldn't talk to you, because they don't talk to you the year before they have to run. They only talk to you when it's time to run. So those are some of the things, just reminding them of, the reason why they have the power is because they oftentimes keep us from it. It's when we break it down, power, they won't give us power. We got to go in and take it.
That's 100% right. And I often tell people if your vote didn't matter, no one would try and suppress it.
Exactly. That's the point.
If
That's the
your
exact
vote
point.
didn't matter, nobody would try and take it away.
Absolutely, because nobody comes for, your the plant in your front yard. Like, how many people are trying to tell you stop planting roses in your front yard? Because it's not it right. It doesn't help them. So
Cori, you have to, aside from all of the things that you have experienced in the spring, you have also battled with the coronavirus twice. and been hospitalized. Can you talk just a bit about that experience and the situation that is happening in the district you are running for in District 1?
Sure. So, exactly 14 days from the day that I introduced Senator Bernie Sanders at the only St. Louis rally the only Missouri rally that he had here in St. Louis, 14 days later, all of a sudden, bam, it was like a train hit me and I couldn't breathe. I started having all of these symptoms. And then, next thing I knew, I was in the emergency room, I was hospitalized. And it's something as a nurse, I've seen so much as a nurse, but this is something I had never seen before. I couldn't express what I was feeling, and I was tested. And now I'm hearing that I probably was tested too early because we still kind of didn't know enough about
Right.
what was going about it. But I was tested while I was in the hospital. The very next day after I was admitted, I was tested and my test came back negative. But my doctor told me that she believed it was a false negative, and she was like, "Yeah, I believe you have COVID." But let me just say, that thing honestly traumatized me because every minute of every day I couldn't sleep because I was making myself breathe. It was like, I had to inhale, exhale. Like that's all I thought about all day long. It was horrible, and just all the other symptoms. And it was just like any moment I felt like, is this my last one? It was very traumatizing. And the other thing about it is I kept calling it evil. And I'll say it was evil because it was like this thing was playing a game. You would start to feel a little bit better for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden it hits you right back again like a train, and then you'll get, it was just back and forth. So I battled with that for almost 9 full weeks. Could barely walk to,
Wow.
some days I laid in my bed and couldn't even pick up my cell phone because I was that weak. I couldn't even pick it up to answer it. I just, it was horrible. And then going through that by myself because I didn't want my family to get sick, and then still having a campaign, you know, it was a really, really rough time.
I mean, Cori, you are the definition of a warrior. And I think that if anybody were to look up that word, you have every single attribute.
Oh, thank you.
I am so excited about the probability and the potential of you walking the halls of Congress as a representative of your district. The primary is on the 4th.
Yes, 21 days.
Is on the 4th of August, which also happens to be my late grandfather's birthday. So I'm going to send you as much good vibration and good vibe.
Thank
It's a
you.
great day. It's a powerful day, and I wish you all the very, very best. What do you want? How can people donate to you? How can they
Sure.
support you over the next couple of weeks?
Yes. So to volunteer, donate, and you can uh, text this phone number. It's 314-370-2929. 314-370-2929. You can text the word donate, and it'll give you the donate link. You can text the word volunteer, and it'll give you the link to sign up to volunteer. Or you can also go to our website at coribush.org. It's CoriBush. I'm the good Bush .org. Yeah, I'm the good Bush. Don't get thrown off by the name. But yeah, that's where people can see all of what we're doing and even get information on voting and registering to vote.
Well, Cori, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And I really, I want to see a success. I want to see
Yes.
another powerful Black woman in Congress. And
Yes.
so I'm sending you all of the good vibes. Keep up the fight.
Thank you.
Keep that beautiful, energetic smile that you have across your face,
Thank you.
because I think that it's gonna usher you in. Thank you for taking the time
Oh,
with me today.
thank you for the opportunity. This is how we change things. So I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cori.